Hey guys, welcome back to Masterpiece Media, the podcast where we review media that we're just really passionate about. This is episode 2, where we will one might say, we will even be reviewing the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th episode of Adventure Time.
Should we explain what Masterpiece Media is in this intro? Probably.
Yeah.
Masterpiece Media is a podcast where we review I'm screwing up the intro. I gave you crap for it there, and then I did a horrible job. But it's all right. We're just gonna roll with it. So, Masterpiece Media. The whole idea behind Masterpiece Media is that this is a podcast where one person on the podcast brings a property of entertainment, whether it be a television show, a movie, that they're very passionate about. And they bring it typically to someone who might not be passionate about it. And then they, discuss it and discuss why it's a good show and hopefully win over the other, person on the podcast to seeing that it's a good show. The first season of the show, we have decided to discuss Adventure Time, as Chris mentioned, which is Chris's one of his favorite shows of all time. I think he said favorite at one point. Who knows? That kind of stuff fluctuates, but it's definitely up there. It's also a show that before we did this podcast, I had seen almost none of. So I
had seen an entire one episode of.
Yeah, and I wasn't even a fan. But he might be winning me over. Let's find out. Let's talk about our first episode, episode 5, which is
titled Enchiridion.
Okay, I had the titles written down this time. This episode's gonna be better than last episode, maybe.
Ooh, slightly more polished to it. A bit of shine on there.
Yeah.
All right, so the episode starts out, and there's what do you know? A party in the Candy Kingdom.
Yeah, of course.
Because all of the denizens of the Candy Kingdom just don't know how to be responsible, and are just always having parties.
What other meaning of life is there other than partying?
Work, raising a family, which we will find out that there is absolutely people who are raising families in the Candy Kingdom. But for now, Cinnamon Bun at the party.
That's who that is. I wrote an unknown character because I didn't know I don't think they've established who this character is yet.
No, they haven't, and they do change the voice for that character later on in the show, actually, which I totally didn't realize until I heard that voice. I was like, no, that's not the right voice for that character. But yeah, this guy, Cinnamon Bun, does a flip, and he calls everyone to watch him.
I argue he attempted to do a flip.
Yeah, he attempts to do a flip, and he backflips into a tower that
he jumps and just kind of hits his head on it. He doesn't do any rotation.
It's true. Yeah, he jumps backwards into a tower.
Yeah.
And knocks it over.
Yes.
Where the tower falls over, PB falls out, but then Finn, our righteous 12-year-old hero, rescues her and catches her, saving her from her mortal peril. Although that raises the question: if she was to fall on the ground, would she just like splat all over the ground? Wouldn't they just be able to scrape her up? I mean, these are the things you have to wonder about a person who is made of bubble gum. Anyways,
she calls him a hero. She calls him a hero.
Yeah, and then she's like, speaking of hero, she shows him this little hidden tunnel, passageway, hidden entrance, secret. It's a secret entrance.
Yes. Okay, I didn't write that scene down and forgot about that part of it. Yes, you were right. She has everyone turn around because it's a secret entrance. She doesn't want them to see it.
And then they don't turn around, and then they're like, huh? She's like, well, it wouldn't be a secret if you guys saw. And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
She's just like, oh, the candy people are so dumb.
And
So
Jake.
sad.
Jake was also down
And
in
Jake.
this scene.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's also just Jake.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's more often than not going to listen to anyone,
Yeah.
regardless of the situation. But yeah, so she takes him into the secret entrance, where she shows Finn the secret orb, and inside the secret orb is a vision of a book called the Enchiridion. This the hero's book, basically like the hero's guide on how to be a hero, right? And since Finn is a young aspiring hero, she's like, this is the perfect book for you. And only someone who is truly righteous can truly wield this book. And
I believe at this point she tells him that it is guarded by a very manly minotaur.
yes, the manly Manatar, I think.
I don't think we know his name yet, but I think that sounds about right. It was something like that. No, it's Manish Man.
Manish Man. That's it. Yeah.
I did write it down.
Oh, good old Manish Man. Anywho, but she instills her confidence in Finn, telling him that she truly thinks he is a righteous hero worthy of the book, and that sets Finn off on his quest to find the book. And so they arrive.
I think this was one of the episodes where they show the Adventure Time logo. I think there's a line. I think it might be this. Is it a different episode? One of the episodes we watched today.
Where they transition with the title card.
They do the it's time for adventure, and then they might say directly. Either way, it was
Yeah.
It'd be better if I actually wrote that down and knew for sure that was this episode, and it wasn't one of the other episodes. But at the same point, looking at the other episodes we discussed, I think it has to be this one. I don't think it fit with any of the themes of the other episodes.
Pretty sure it's this one, for sure. And so, Jake and Finn arrive at the entrance to where the Enchiridion is kept.
Yeah, it's like,
and we get to meet the gatekeeper.
I think he's just called the Keeper.
Yeah. He introduces himself as the keeper. I think Manish Man later in the episode calls him the gatekeeper, but
He might, I don't remember.
This little green guy with a key around his neck and a giant key on his head.
Yeah.
And he gives this super long-winded explanation of what Finn has to do to get to the Enchiridion. And then at the end, he's just like, all right, but first, before you can do any of that, you must solve my riddle. And Finn just picks him up and stuffs his head into the keyhole. And then he's like, oh, very smart, but I must ask, how did you solve my riddle? He's like,
and Finn says he just thought he'd look cute in there.
yeah, I just thought you'd look cute stuffed in that hole. Wait. Oh, that line got me so good. And then the keeper's like, oh yes, that's how most people solve the riddle.
Yeah.
Poor keeper.
Yeah.
But he seems very content with his lot in life, honestly.
My one note for this little section was that the Keeper is funny. I enjoyed the Keeper. This is not...
Yeah.
If we're giving out awards, he has the opposite award of whatever I give Lumpy Space Princess. Yeah.
It's fair.
Which, if you did tune into our first episode, I hate Lumpy Space Princess. But
it's true,
the
it's
Keeper,
been established.
pretty dope. I like the
Keeper is pretty excellent, I gotta say. And so, after getting through the gatekeeper, solving his incredibly difficult riddle, Finn must go through a series of trials, which the keeper kind of warns Finn about as he runs off haphazardly. And the first trial he encounters is a pit of fire with some gnomes hanging out in it. And by hanging out, I mean screaming in terror, saying, help me, help me.
Yeah.
And so, Finn, being the hero that he is,
he's a hero.
saves the gnomes. And why don't you tell him what happened?
So then these flying
Say the
gnomes we
gnomes.
haven't mentioned, they fly for some reason, even though
They do
they're
fly.
called gnomes, but they fly.
Yeah, I wrote down fairies initially because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, surely those are fairies.
Of course, you would
They're
think
not.
so, but then they call them flying gnomes later.
Yeah.
So they I don't remember the exact like line, but we find out that they're evil. So they start just killing old ladies. And like
Yeah.
every time Finn will say something like no or whatever, they'll say, if you say no, we're gonna kill another one. And he'll be like, no, don't, and then they'll kill another one. And like they go through a couple different lines that Finn says. And
So
they just
nuts.
keep killing old ladies.
And so Jake, tired of the gnomes, just
Well,
terrorizing Finn.
First, Finn runs off like distraught that he failed.
Is killing a bunch of old ladies.
Yeah, he feels personally responsible for it, and he runs off. And then Jake.
Yeah, and then Jake just extendo hand, grabs all the gnomes, and slams them back into the fire pit, and runs off to console Finn about the gnomes and the fact that they're surely just illusions to test his righteousness as a hero.
And that calms Finn down and makes him go back to being normal Finn, not distraught, sad Finn. Who I'd watch a show with distraught sad Finn. That's a cool spin-off, Super sad Finn.
Well, don't worry. I'm sure we will be
emo
saying,
Finn episode. Awesome! I can't wait, guys. Tune in to episode 23 of our podcast where we talk.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll be getting to plenty of sad Finn in the very near future.
Okay.
And by near future, I mean like 20 weeks from now. So tune in down the line.
Also, by then the podcast might be like good. So tune in then.
Yeah. Hopefully. Who knows? Probably not. I don't know. So the next trial they encounter is a giant. A giant who is strangely baby-like in design. Am I right in saying that?
I mean, I don't know. I would have thought baby, but now that you've said it, I can see it at least.
Like a giant baby man.
Yeah.
And the giant eats Jake. Yeah. Just like frame one is just like, haha, I ate your friend.
But then Jake keeps like popping out of his nose and stuff.
Like,
oh, I'm fine. It's okay. I found a way out. And then and then the giant will push Jake back in.
And so Finn, not having it, wanting to save his friend, climbs up into the giant's back pocket, takes his wallet, and steals a giant dollar and uses it as a little paraglide to kick him in the stomach, which makes him vomit.
Yeah.
And Jake comes running out on his vomit, just, as you do.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Oh, that's fair. I guess that's
But
fair.
I'm not an adventurer like they are, so, maybe that's a common thing for adventurers to do.
Run-of-the-mill folks, unfortunately.
I'm just a normal pleb.
So Jake and Finn paraglide with the giant dollar off to the top of the mountain, where the Enchiridion is, and meanwhile the giant is very upset that Finn has stolen his dollar. But since Finn is such a righteous young hero, he folds the giant dollar back into a paper airplane and flies it back down to him, and the giant is once again happy that he has his giant dollar.
Yeah. So we go into the castle, and there's this best description I would say is like kind of like a Grim Reaper-esque stylized character who we meet.
Yeah, a spooky wizard.
That's fair. Definitely has like a Reaper-like cloak though. You don't see his face. He's one of those type of characters and got a hood. And so this character takes him into his mind, to the Reaper's mind. Or whatever, I don't know. Did the character have a name? I don't remember if it did. I don't think they ever...
I don't think that he did, no.
I don't think they acknowledge a name. And so once they're in there, the first task Finn has to do in there is he has to fight this, it's like half brain, half heart, I think?
monster.
Yeah, it's like a monster that's like half brain, half heart. It's giant. It's weird looking, and Finn, wants to make sure he asks the I'm gonna call it the Reaper, if this is evil, and the Reaper confirms that yes, this is definitely evil. So Finn has no problem taking out this heart thing.
Yeah.
Oh, am I gonna keep going? I'll keep going. But then, the second task in this mind realm, there's an ant.
That's right.
And Finn's like, well, is it an evil ant? And the Reaper's like, no, it's just indifferent. It's just in the middle.
It's a neutral ant.
Neutral ant. And, Finn can't kill something neutral. It did nothing wrong then. So he runs and just kicks the crap out of the Reaper. Taking them out of the Mind Palace. Yeah. Mind Realm.
It's pretty righteous. He didn't slay that unaligned ant.
Mm-hmm.
Lawful good. Much like Paul Rudd.
It's a different podcast.
Yes.
But hey, if you're wondering what podcast could that be about? Tune in to this week's Kentucky Route 5. It'll already have been up for 2 days when you see this, or
That's
like
true.
6 years depending on when you find this.
If you want to watch a chaotic derailed podcast,
yeah, let's move on to that podcast. So what happens next after he kicks the crap out of the Reaper?
So after that, the gatekeeper makes a second appearance, but he's in his little PJs this time, and Finn kicks him in the gut because he thinks he's evil.
Pause for a second. Yeah, his PJs. You do not think he's in PJs yet. That line does not come where we find out those are his PJs. He is in a straight up devil costume with a pitchfork.
With a pitchfork.
Yeah.
And so, Finn kicks him in the stomach because he thinks he's evil. And then the gatekeeper's just laying on the ground, just in agony. He's like, I'm in my jammies.
Yeah.
And Finn feels super bad about it and helps him back up.
Yeah.
And then I think the
Manish Man shows up.
Right?
Yeah, he opens the door and shows up. Yeah, and he, is, very happy to see Jake. Happy that he, went through all the challenges successfully, and he tells him, "Hey, come with me. Let's go get you that, what the crap is it called? Enchiridion."
The Enchiridion?
Yeah. And they go. They have like a little picnic.
They do. They do. And they open Finn opens the Enchiridion and starts reading it, and the first page is How to Kiss a Princess. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
which he bookmarks.
Yeah.
And then
Princess Bubblegum was like, what does it say? And he won't tell her because it's only for heroes, not for princesses.
Maybe Finn wants to kiss Princess Bubblegum.
Oh, I don't know. That's crazy. It's a crazy assumption that we definitely won't know if he wants to do that when we go over our third episode for the day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely not.
We definitely won't find out.
Speaking of our third episode, it's time for the second episode.
Okay, cool. This episode was weird.
Yeah, it is definitely one of the weirder episodes.
I didn't know how to feel about it. It was... I don't have notes for the beginning, because literally all I wrote was, weird opening.
That's fair. So, the title of episode 6 is The Jiggler. And the episode starts off, you get a nice pan out of a burning village, and Finn and Jake walking off with a bunch of fruit, and you're kind of just like sitting here wondering, what happened here? And as we find out, this bundle of fruit is sentient, maybe? It's literally like a bunch of water. It's 2 watermelons and like some bananas and a pineapple. And Finn and Jake set them down at the house, and are like, all right, be safe.
Yeah.
That's the start of the episode.
Yeah.
And you're like, surely this couldn't get any stranger. And
but
it
old
does.
buddy does it. Because now we kind of keep going, and Finn is, singing in singing this like original song in like an auto-tuned voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where we first get introduced to the auto-tune Finn, which I think is probably my least favorite bit in all of Adventure Time.
It's a close
But I
second
also
behind Lumpy Space Princess for me, but I respect that.
hate auto-tuning, honestly. So,
Fair.
like,
I
watching
respect
this
that.
back as an adult, I'm just like,
It's fair.
that is literally just one of my notes is just hate the auto-tune singing. Oof.
Yeah, it's definitely
and
it was a choice for sure.
Finn writes it off as, I swallowed a computer.
Yeah.
How do I do that? I swallowed a compuer.
Because they rather than just having the weird moment, they felt the need to address it, which didn't help.
No, it really did not help
Yeah.
at all.
So now we're introduced to this weird
This
little
creature.
creature, yeah, that's like just kind of
What-
looks like an hourglass almost, but more rounded, more ball-like.
Yeah, and filled with a bunch of holes.
Yeah.
Which will come into play later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This weird thing,
Yeah.
as I wrote it here, shows up,
I have to go into too much detail.
and it likes the
Yeah.
song Finn was singing.
Yeah. So it whistles along and follows Finn and Jake home. And they kind of take care of it at their house. And they party with it all night. Singing and jamming out and kind of wrecking their house.
Yeah.
And the next day, they wake up and the jiggler is it's out of sorts, right? It looks a little bit sickly. And so they don't know what to do with it. So they try to feed it.
The weird purple thing, I think is what it was called. Finn
the
calls
purple
it that.
whatever.
Yeah, purple whatever is what Finn calls it, and Jake's like, it's a grape.
Grapes? He's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Purple whatevers. But that like makes it like glitch out almost like.
Yeah, very like trippy, like bright flashing colors.
Yeah.
And it distorts its shape. And then proceeds to spit out some of the purple juice.
Yeah.
So that happens. And then it becomes more sick.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh shoot,
But then
we need to find out what to drop.
yeah, we need to find out
Or
what to
what-
feed it. So they start drawing pictures of food, kind of things that they're
Kind of, yeah.
calling food, but none of them look like food whatsoever.
They draw meat, and it's like a thing with a smiley face on it, which
Yeah.
is disturbing.
And it seems, and then like it eats the drawing and seems to like it at the point. You're like, oh, it eats drawings, I guess.
I guess.
And then it
yeah.
kind of leads to Finn draws it a picture of Jake, and Jake doesn't want it to eat it. So Finn's like,
Yeah.
fine, I'll eat it. And Jake doesn't like that either. So Jake has
So
to
Jake
eat it.
eats himself.
Because I guess someone has to eat the drawing for some reason.
Well, if not, the jiggler's gonna eat it.
The Jiggler didn't seem to care. They had moved on from that part. It was just a weird. This is one of those episodes where it's like, oh, you're being weird to be weird. Like the whole
Yeah.
episode.
Kind of felt like there's a little bit of a message behind it of like
Sure, once you get to the
If
end,
you
you kind of
don't-
get to a message.
a wild animal, like
yeah,
don't take it in.
yeah. No,
Was the
that's
kind of
fair.
vibes that
There was like a point you could say, but it definitely most of it felt way more random than this show, which is already random. Is it
Yeah.
felt more random? It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, that's
Okay,
fair.
okay.
This was definitely one of those episodes.
Yeah.
And so after eating the drawings, the jiggler gets progressively more sick
Yeah.
and then begins to leak.
It
Like,
starts
a
out of
lot.
its like mouth hole. It would, or what we perceive to be its mouth hole. So it
Right.
looks like it's just kind of puking this purple liquid. And then they try to plug that hole, so it starts leaking out of a different hole. And they
Mhm.
have to just keep trying to plug all the holes. Eventually, they like,
Which they use glass eyes And
eye patches, because they have collections of those. Because, once again, this episode is weird just to be weird.
Why not? And as someone who is a weirdo, I can appreciate it, but they really do kind of hit this one out of the park on like weird for weird's sake. But yeah, so then after they plug up all of his holes, he explodes.
Yeah.
And his whole body just turns into like taffy and is stretched all across.
It's a good description.
All across like the interior of the treehouse.
It's even in the cabinets, there's one line at one point. Somehow he's inside of things that were closed when it happened.
Yeah, because he exploded. So yeah, it makes sense. Don't ask questions.
No, you're right. I apologize. It is a perfect show with zero
after they
flaws.
Up the jiggler. No, definitely no flaws. Anyway,
nope.
After they scoop up the jiggler, Finn is kind of at a loss and just starts kissing the jiggler to make it better. And Jake's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm kissing him. I don't know what else to do." And then the jiggler kisses a painting of his mother onto the floor.
Yeah, it just starts kissing on the floor and leaving like splotches of color, and you're like, "Wait, what?" And then it makes like a picture of its mom that it misses.
Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, we gotta return it to its mom." And so they do.
Yeah.
But his mom rejects him at first because he doesn't have her scent on it, and she freaks out and does the whole glitchy thing again.
Yeah.
And it's just
violently. She just kind of keeps doing that until we get a little bit later in the scene, but she's just kind of constantly doing that weird glitchy thing. Which I'll be honest.
Jake realizes, hey, she doesn't, or the jiggler doesn't have the scent of his mother on him. We gotta throw him in the pool of juice in which they are nesting in, so that he can regain the scent and be accepted. And so Finn just straight up chucks the jiggler into the pool of juice and soaks it up, and everything's right as rain.
And we just, it ends happy. It's over. The end of the story.
And that is really that episode in a nutshell. So
And I think, what I'm about to say, I think is going to be the title of this episode of our show because of this episode. It's just going to be, well, that was weird. I think that's the title, episode 2 of this podcast. Because, one, we have kind of a weird energy today. And then that episode was just so weird.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair.
So, I said that here in the podcast. Now let's see when this gets released. Did I put the same name on it? Who knows? Did I remember this? Probably not.
You're watching this on YouTube and he didn't. Call him out for it.
Do it. Let's talk about episode 7.
Alright, let's do it. Episode 7, Ricardio, the Heart Guy. So we start out, and what do you know? The Ice King is kidnapping Princess Bubblegum. But of course, our heroes Finn and Jake are there to rescue her. And so they manage to successfully, bop the Ice King out of the sky.
I mean, manage implies that it took them any bit of effort. This was like
they
a minute, and they're like, "It's over. We saved her." The end.
So they save her, and then Jake extends his butt into the grasp of the Ice King, tricking him into thinking that he still has her.
Yeah.
And he morphs the shape of his butt into the general shape of PB. And Ice King kisses Jake's butt.
Yep.
And that's the thing that happens.
I didn't even write that down because I was so confused. I forgot it happened until you started saying it. I was like, oh yeah, they did have that weird him kissing Jake's butt bit.
And what do you know? It's party time again, but not quite yet.
Whoa! This is a party for saving her. She's rewarding them.
Right. Yeah. The PB decides to throw a party for Finn and Jake since they saved her from the Ice King. And so on their way to the party, Jake is talking about how, Finn probably wishes that he was the Ice King.
No, he started with saying
And-
he wishes that he was Jake's butt. Wait, no.
Yeah.
You probably wish you were the Ice King and she
and
was my
Princess
butt.
Bubblegum. Yeah. Oh. And Finn gets flustered and totally rejects it.
Yeah.
Um,
Because he wouldn't want to kiss a princess. That wasn't established as an idea 2 episodes ago.
yeah, definitely not. However, upon arrival at the party, we see that there is an unknown guest who is kind of got the center of attention, and he's a tiny little heart, and he's doing a best friend's massage on Lumpy Space Princess, who's sitting down on the table, and he's just this little heart guy, just stepping on her back,
Yeah?
making fart noises every time he does.
I missed
Because
that.
I guess when you step on Lumpy Space Princess, she makes fart noises.
That sounds annoyingly like something Lumpy would do.
Yeah.
Fun little side note, real quick, before we go any further.
go
Ricardio
on.
is played by George Takei, George Takei is awesome.
That definitely makes sense. That definitely makes sense. But yeah, he kind of steals the thunder of the party.
Yeah.
And upon PB arriving, he introduces himself, and they hit it off because they're both like super big science nerds and start talking about imaginary science.
What are you talking about, imaginary?
You
That
know,
was
the
real
Xanards,
science. That's real science.
And the Pliblorts, all that good stuff. And Finn being kind of out of his league because he's a 12-year-old kid who isn't really educated formally at all. It was just like, I can't compete with it. Like, I don't know what to do. Yeah.
And he starts getting real jealous.
Oh, absolutely. But of course, Finn wouldn't, ever admit it
No.
because he doesn't know what jealousy is.
No. I feel like I don't know.
but
I don't know if I'd take that from that scene. I feel like he knew what jealousy was. He just didn't agree that he was jealous. It was like the old trope of "I'm not jealous. I don't even care" kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah,
fair.
I feel like he
That's-
definitely knew what jealousy was, and that's why he was offended that people kept saying he was jealous.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, you're pretty spot on with that, I think. And so he tries to compete for PB's attention.
By doing the science dance, as you do.
Dance. Yeah, of course. And so PB, this kind of scares off Ricardio, and he goes and is off talking to other people, I guess. And PB definitely picks up on the fact that Finn is jealous of the fact that he's getting attention and Finn isn't.
Yeah.
And
She calls him
definitely-
jealous, and he denies it and yells, "I'm not jealous. I'm just weird."
yeah, as we all are, really.
Yeah.
And so I think at this point,
I think this is the point where Finn starts thinking Ricardio is a villain. He starts telling Jake that he thinks Ricardio is a villain, which Jake at the time is like, basically just thinks he's just jealous. But Finn says that he wants to go on a stakeout, and Jake loves stakeout. So even if he thinks Finn's wrong, he's down.
yeah. And so they go on a stakeout, and they see Ricardio and PB having a conversation. First off, and Jake does some really bad lip reading.
Yeah.
And I just wrote down the line, "You look like a big pink baguette." And Finn not having it, and he's like, "Man, you're not taking this seriously." Decides to take over the binoculars himself, and spies Ricardio doing some shady stuff out in an
suspicious
alleyway.
activity.
Yeah.
He's going through a dumpster and he finds some rope Or maybe he came to the dumpster with rope. Either way, he ends up having rope. He's in a dumpster. He finds a glass bottle. He breaks the glass bottle.
Which, spooky.
Hey, that doesn't sound like something a good person does. Sounds like he's, about to, like, mug someone or something. And then,
Yeah, or get fired.
Yeah. And then the Ice King shows up in the alleyway with the dumpster with Ricardio, and, we don't know what's going on, but it seems like they're having some sort of disagreement, and, Ricardio beats the crap out of the Ice King. Which, makes Jake think that, obviously Ricardio's good. He's beating up a villain.
And so after that, they decide to kind of have a confrontation with Ricardio to kind of settle things. And
Finn's just like, are you a villain?
What the whole confrontation boils down to is Finn asking a question and then stating a fact, and then Ricardio going, "Oh yeah," and then Finn's like, "Yeah," and he says, "Oh yeah," and then that just happens for a while.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed that bit. I think way too much.
That was good.
And then I think
then Princess Bubblegum shows up, and he tries to tell Bubblegum, see, he's obviously bad. He's got these, this bottle and this rope and stuff, and she's like, no, that's stuff we need for our experiment.
It's true.
Which, now we're like, oh, I guess he's not evil.
Yeah, maybe he's not such a bad guy.
Maybe Finn is just jealous. But oh wait, here comes the Ice King.
Yeah, crawling out of the alleyway in a very weak state.
Yeah.
To reveal the fact that Ricardio is in fact evil. He's actually the result of an experiment that went wrong with the Ice King, where he tried to make a potion that could control the princess's heart so that she would fall in love with him. But it actually turned his heart into a sentient being that we know as Ricardio, and it crawled out of his chest.
Yeah.
And made the evil plan to cut out the princess's heart and make it his bride.
Yep.
And so Finn and Jake run after Ricardio and PB, and sure enough, PB is tied up in a chair. And Ricardio, in fact, reveals his plan to cut out the princess's heart and make out with it. Which is
the line. Which is
more.
Which one thing I don't know if we really established. Part of what makes some of these lines so jarring when they happen is Ricardio is drawn different than everyone else. He has so much more detail in his face.
Detail?
Yeah, for example, if you watched. I mean, this is not going to help anyone because no one who's watching this had watched that probably or cares. But I think of the Teen Titans Go character when they get serious, that one episode. It's like that. Just the extra super detail in their face. It's a lot similar. Ricardio is like that. This whole, he's very detailed. So when he says things and does things, it just feels off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. And so, upon encountering and confronting Ricardio and his evil plan, Finn, being, a full-grown human versus a tiny little heart, beats the crud out of Ricardio.
Very quickly.
Yeah, very easily.
Which is how most fight scenes end up happening in this. Is Finn decides to start fighting. It's over.
Yeah, except for when there's giant things and
yeah, sure.
Jake has to step in and grow.
So Jake can do it real easy and the fight can be over.
Yeah. I mean, we've only got 11 minutes. We gotta solve the problem fast.
That is fair. There's no epic season arc fight scenes like in good anime. Yeah, well, I want some DBZ level, violent. Not violent.
Well, Finn's got to power up for 2 episodes straight before he can actually win the fight.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I could imagine it,
Yeah,
honestly.
so let's finish this episode. We got off track there a little bit. So after he's beating the crap out of this heart, is continuing to kind of beat it up, the Ice King crawls in, be like, "Hey, stop! You're gonna like kill me if you beat this heart up. Let me have the heart back so I can like leave."
Yeah.
And Finn and Jake have this like discussion, like, should they do it? Do they let him have his heart back? He's a bad guy. Do we let him? They decide to let him.
Yeah, because Finn doesn't want to see an old dead guy in the princess's castle.
Yeah. So the Ice King gets his heart back, and I think then he tries to say he's going to take the princess with him. Yeah, and Finn just kicks him once, and he flies off on his beard, just goes away, and I believe that's the end of the episode.
That's almost the end of the episode.
Oh,
we get this nice callback to the beginning of the episode, where they're all hanging out, celebrating the fact that Finn and Jake have once again saved PB.
Mm-hmm.
And then PB's teasing Finn about how he's like so jealous. And then she says, "Finn, what if we kissed?" And then Finn turns and she's like, "Oh wait, I messed it up." And she tries to imitate Jake and say, "What if we kissed?" And it's the princess's butt up in the air wearing a mask of Jake on her butt.
Yeah, you're right. That scene did happen. I didn't write it down, and I forgot it happened. And I kind of wish I still forgot it happened.
It happened. PB taunted a 12-year-old boy to kiss her butt, so
yeah,
just another
is it established how old she is? Is this an inappropriate relationship? I don't know. I don't. At least not
this
yet.
is another one of those situations where she's probably millennia old.
Okay. Okay, cool.
But she looks like she's, maybe 17 or 18. So
no matter what,
very
wrong.
Not okay.
So no matter what way you cut it, wrong. Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, looking back at this as a 25-year-old man, I'm like, yes, nothing about this is okay.
Yeah.
No. This is a no from me, Doc.
So
is it all in jest like a really old girl who like the closest thing I could relate it to would be
is this an Anakin Padme situation?
Your best friend's older sister who you have a crush on. She knows you like her, and she's like, haha, what if I kissed you? And you're like, the 12-year-old kid, you're like, and she's
Did this
like,
happen to you? Because that girl is wrong, Chris. You're describing a scenario like it's something that's normal. That's still not normal.
I mean, is it normal? No.
That's just creepy.
Has it probably happened to plenty of people?
I mean, maybe. But
yes.
But
that's the closest thing I could relate it to. Either way,
I just want to move on.
The creepy vibes, and the more I watch it, as someone watching it back a third time around, I'm just like, I progressively like PB less and less as a person.
See, they don't establish how old she is, so I'm just gonna imagine she's 13, so it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, makes it acceptable.
Anywho.
So our last episode we're gonna discuss on this episode.
On from the semantics of
hey, here's the thing. People don't want to watch this just to hear us talk directly what happened in the plot. They could go just watch the episodes. They want to have our opinions on it, and our opinion is, man, well, that was weird. That's the opinion for this episode, and that's the title.
Kind of weird, champ. Kind of, Did
we have to do that?
I don't know how I felt. Don't know how I felt about that.
Yeah. I'll be honest, this next episode didn't have any moments that really made me feel like that. This next episode might be my favorite episode so far. It was just kind of fun. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it was a solid episode.
Yeah, episode 8, we have business time.
It's business time, baby. For all of you, the Flight of the Conchords fans, it's business time. But it's not that kind of business time. Matter of fact, it's very strictly business type business time.
Yeah. So, we open with Finn and Jake using flamethrowers to melt icebergs that have stuff in them. So,
as you do.
Yeah, because they're trying to get scrap for their gauntlet dock, which is a dock that is also a gauntlet.
Yeah. Not like a gauntlet you would wear on your hand,
Oh, yeah, no.
but a gauntlet you run trying to test your skills and
Yeah.
abilities. And basically, yeah, they're using the flamethrowers as you would imagine, your local Florida man using a metal detector. And Jake is just having not great luck.
Jake's just
finding a lot of
finding
baby
left
booties.
baby shoes.
Yeah, all lefts.
All
No
lefts.
Not even a pair.
Nope.
Like, who's that for? What's he gonna do with those?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like you can make an argument though with Jake's weird rubber ability. He could probably like turn his foot into 2 lefts.
You're right. He could have like 24 little left baby booties coming out of his body, and he could
I'll
be
be honest.
the
I think
the
Jake
left
could
baby
Jake
booty
pull it off.
However, something floats onto the shore, and upon wiping away some of the fog that's for some reason on this specific iceberg, we find out that they're
Yeah.
businessmen
Yeah.
frozen in the ice. And so
Yeah.
they use their flamethrowers to lightly flambe them,
Yeah.
freeing them from the ice without, cooking them alive.
Of course.
And something feels off with them, definitely right off the bat.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got these kind of like warts on them.
Yeah. Kind of like growth that would happen like underwater on like a boat, kind of.
Yeah. Kind of like if you had drowned and your body had become bloated, but it was only like bloated in parts.
It kind of
This is
also,
really
it
disgusting
kind of
to
also
think
reminded
about.
me of like the growth, kind of like on the gross patty in the episode of SpongeBob where he's trying to kill the health inspector.
Wow, what a reference. But yeah, no, absolutely. I can recall that vividly now.
Yeah. See, I mean, and here's the thing.
Now I want to throw up. Thank you.
That's fair. So Jake sees these businessmen and he realizes that like they want to do business and he wants to help them. But so he wants them to finish the dock for them because he's lazy and doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. And then Jake is lazy, and that is his character.
Yes. But Finn doesn't want to at first because it's supposed to be like their
That's their adventure. That's their project. That's
it's their thing, and it's gonna make it more. It's gonna make it bigger. I think his words like, "That's our adventure pie, and we have to cook it." I think it might be the line. It's something of that nature. It's weird.
I think so. Yeah.
But,
This is our fun pie, and we've got to cook it.
There it was, fun pie.
My fun. Never mind.
No,
Go on.
Stop. I lost my place in my notes. But
So anyways,
that's how
the businessmen handily finish the dock.
yeah, and they do it
dock
really well.
Yeah,
They-
it is masterpiece, beautiful,
Mhm.
que magnifique.
And it wins over Finn. He's into the idea of
Yeah,
hiring them to do business, do all the parts they don't want to do, so they can just have more fun. They don't have to do the work part; they can just do fun.
yeah,
Because let's be honest, adventuring should be fun.
it should be fun. It shouldn't be all work. It should
Yeah.
be all fun, really.
All work and no play makes Finn and Jake not have a good day. That's the line from The Shining, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Something like that. But yeah, after finishing the dock, the businessmen are what you might call not satisfied or unsatiated. They need more work.
Yeah.
And so after taking them on, the businessmen kind of take on all of the side work around the house.
Polishing, Finn's
sharpening the
sword, polishing, sharpening, getting everything ready. Also
Making a giant global crisis detector.
Before we get to that, though, I believe we have when we first come into the shot, we see Finn and Jake playing video games, and this is our first appearance of BMO.
Oh, that's true.
BMO
That's
doesn't
true.
talk or anything like it does later, but we
Nope.
do see BMO sitting on the table, being used to play video games. I wrote that down because I was like, "Oh, I know BMO. That's the one of the few things I know."
Debatably one of the most beloved Adventure Time characters, period.
Hey, guess what? I'm gonna say BMO is gonna be one of the tags of this video. I want people to watch this, and they're gonna be real disappointed when that's all it's about.
BMO shows up to be played on as a video game console.
All right, so moving on.
All right.
So we get the first, like the first, what's the word? My brain's poop.
Poopy.
Yeah, poopy brain.
Poopy brain.
So Finn and Jake.
That's an Adventure Time reference.
Oh, I meant to do that. Finn and Jake go to defend the hot dog princess.
That's right.
From the battle cubes.
Because she is in danger.
Yeah.
Yeah, which battle cubes are tormenting the hot dog princess
for some reason that is unknown. Very unknown reason. Keep explaining what happens next, Chris.
And so Finn and Jake battle the battle cubes for what seems like forever.
Yeah.
And they get tired, and so the businessmen, volunteer to step in for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they do, and despite having what we can only assume is no experience in the hand-to-hand combat, managed to fend off the cubes long enough for Finn to come up with an idea.
Yeah, Finn and Jake have like a little sit down, relax, have some water and orange slices to rehydrate.
And so, Finn comes up with this idea to round up all the cubes, tie them all together, and then Jake tosses them off in the distance, and it works flawlessly.
Of course. Because once again, when Finn figures things out, it's 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's boy genius who is also very dumb.
Yeah.
Well, he's an adventurous savant, I should say.
Yes, for sure. And this I don't remember if it happened while they were still sitting down or right after the thing. Jake talks about how this is why they're great for us. They give us that chance to take a break to focus, and then you can figure out the solution to the problems we're facing. Jake is really even more on board than he already was with how great these businessmen are for them.
Yeah, and so after they save Hot Dog Princess, she's super delighted and, wouldn't you know it, wants to kiss Finn, because every princess in the show wants to kiss Finn.
Yeah.
And Finn is reluctant because Hot Dog Princess smells like hot dog water. Which, fair.
She is a hot dog.
So one of the businessmen decides to take one for the team, and takes that kiss on the cheek.
And Finn, rightfully so after that, he, gives that one a raise. So then all the other businessmen start kissing Hot Dog Princess, saying, "Take him on for the team, take him on for the team." Because they all also want to, get raises.
Yeah. I mean, as you do. I want raises. If I had to take, some hot dog water princess kisses, I ain't
doing that for free, man. That's work.
It is work.
But see, now the problem is this new mindset. It's making Finn and Jake real lazy and really fat.
Yeah,
they're just playing video games on BMO. First appearance of BMO.
Ice cream alone.
Just eating ice cream, playing video games. That's it. They're at the point where they're like, let's start sending out the businessmen to
do everything.
Do the small things is what they say. We don't want to. Do we really want to go save Lumpy Space Princess right now? Let's let them go save her. Which, to be fair, I respect that entirely. I would never waste my time saving Lumpy Space Princess. I probably would have saved the businessman.
Jake has an Austin moment. Where he's like, do we really have to save Lumpy Space Princess? Why can't we just let them do it?
Yeah.
And so they do. And so it kind of like snowballs where, every situation kind of just becomes the businessman's problem. And no problem ever really becomes big enough for Finn and Jake to need to handle. Until
the problem is the businessmen.
Bum bum bum.
The businessmen have made a giant robot Finn, and they're just
Yeah.
vacuuming up these
Tiny,
puffballs.
adorable. Yeah, just super cute little cream puff looking people.
Yeah, they're putting them. They're sucking them up. They're putting them in their care pack, I think is what they call it, or care sack.
Yeah.
It might be care
They're
sack.
the care sphere.
Yeah,
It might have been the care sack.
I think it was
honestly.
care sack. That sounds like the
Couldn't
joke.
tell you.
They're sucking them
But
up
they're
there.
trying to keep them safe,
But
right?
these things, they're not liking it. They're
No, not.
screaming in terror, and that's what alerts Finn to the problem. Is like they're not happy. But the businessmen, they don't care. This is efficient, and they're keeping them safe, and that's what matters. Happiness is not important. Yeah. Chris? Oh,
Yep.
You
Hello.
froze.
Here again.
You froze there.
Cut out for a second.
Yeah. Thing is, you also cut out with your eyes closed, like, oh crap, did Chris fall asleep?
Uh-oh. Oh no.
But yeah,
It'll never close again.
but yeah, so the businessmen, they're only caring about efficiency and not caring about happiness, and this pisses Finn off. It fires.
does not
So he fires them.
Which makes the businessmen very unhappy.
Yeah.
And they suck Finn up into the care sack.
Yeah.
And so it's all up to,
Lazy, super fat Jake.
yeah, super fat Jake,
Yeah.
by the way, like,
Yeah.
massive.
Like probably 4 times his original size, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if not more.
Yeah.
And so now that Finn sucked up into the care sack, Jake is like pooling out of the window of the treehouse, like, oh no, how can I help? And Finn has the idea, oh, we can plug up the hose with Jake's massive body.
Yeah.
And so they do just that. Jake eats more ice cream and gets more
Starts getting
fat.
fatter and
plugs the
fatter.
hose.
And also uses his super stretching power to get even fatter.
Yeah. And the machine blows up,
Yeah.
and freeing everybody inside, and also sending everybody into the air, where Finn rehires the businessmen to freeze themselves once again and send themselves off into the ocean.
Yeah.
And they do.
Mm-hmm.
They do just that, and that is the last we see of the businessmen. And Jake, being himself and having his powers,
Super magical
is
powers.
like, all right, well, back to adventuring.
Yep.
And just sucks all his fat back into himself.
Just becomes normal size.
Yeah.
And,
And then Finn's like,
oh,
oh yeah,
yeah.
back to adventuring. And
He
he tries to
tries,
suck up.
and
he's
nothing
just like,
happens.
oh.
And that's how the episode ends.
Yep.
Overall, I thought these 4 episodes were good. I thought 3 of these 4 episodes were good. I was not a fan of the Jiggler. That episode was a little too weird for my
I
taste.
think is fair.
Yeah.
That is definitely fair.
I definitely really
The
like the
Jiggler
businessmen, though.
Yeah, businessmen, despite being like weird and not really like centered around our main characters
Yeah.
too much, definitely fun.
Yeah, it was a
Good
fun
episode.
episode. But it also, it didn't feel like, to explain the difference on why I like that one, not the other one, is it didn't feel weird for the sake of being weird. All the weirdness felt like it made sense in their weird world and story they were telling for that episode. Which, I feel like
Agreed.
overall the show does do a pretty good job of, grounding their weirdness in the rules that they've established. But then the Jiggler was like, hey, Finn can sing now, which apparently that's going to be a thing. Him doing his out-of-tone singing. Apparently that's the first appearance. But, it felt so weird and out of place.
All the way through the end of the show.
Okay.
I think it's only for the first season, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Because I don't recall it happening a whole lot after this one. I was just like, oh yeah, that's a thing that happens in this, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that episode definitely, that episode gets my Lumpy Space Princess Award of the Week, which means I hated it. But,
Yeah, so that's definitely your least favorite episode. I guess Businessmen is your favorite episode of the week?
For sure, yeah. Businessman was great.
Alright.
Businessman might be my favorite episode so far that we've watched. That
Gotcha.
award might be the Businessman Award. We'll have the Lumpy Spaceman Award and the Businessman Award for me personally. I'll give, it might be a scene, it might be a joke, it might be an episode. Something will get those awards per episode. For
Okay.
our episode of the show. We're changing how the show works. We're adding little features. Maybe someday there'll be graphics for this. Probably not, but maybe.
I think that'll be good addition.
Yeah.
A good addition. Honestly, I think maybe as far as graphics are concerned, maybe we can throw up title cards for the episodes we're talking
That's too
about.
much
If you
work.
think that's a good idea.
That's too much work. But if you like that idea,
Never
let
mind.
us know in the comments.
Yeah, and if you've got any other criticisms for us, if you hate us, let us know.
Uh-huh.
That's fair.
Yeah, we respect that.
If you like this,
We don't respect
let
that.
us
What's
know.
wrong with you?
I mean, I'd
But
appreciate
thank
it.
you. Like, if we're thankful, but we don't respect you for that. We're definitely questioning your sanity. So this has been an episode of Masterpiece Media. Episode 2. We discussed 4 episodes of a show. 3 of them were really good. 1 of them, I personally was
Word.
not a fan. But hey,
Pretty strict, admittedly, as a fan.
yeah, it was still a good time. I had fun discussing the show with you. Please tune in next week to hear us discuss the next 4 episodes of Adventure
Woo!
Time.